Let's now bring in Shrey Verma, merger analyst with Securities. Shrey, thanks for being with us. And the FCC is saying that these regulations stifle innovation. Net neutrality put broadband under the same Title II regulatory framework as phone companies a century earlier, and that you can't regulate the internet like a utility provider. Well, what do you say to that?
Thanks for having me, Michelle, on the show. Look, we are living in an information age, and to say that internet is not a utility is just beyond what the current convention is, really. And that's what the net neutrality advocates have been proposing all this while. Internet is so essential, and the competition in the U.S. when it comes to internet service provision, you just have the AT&T, the Verizons, and the Comcast of the world. Almost 50% of U.S. households have just 2 internet service providers to choose from. So when you have competition that's restricted at such a concentrated level, you're very likely to see that if you do not consider internet as a utility and you do not regulate internet as a utility, there's an incentive on the part of companies like the Verizon and the Comcast of the world to use their newfound power that the FCC has given them today to make sure that they charge more for content, and that's content that's delivered at a faster speed to the consumer.
But Shrey, the word innovation doesn't exactly come to mind when you're talking about a regulated utility. Now, keeping in mind that prior to 2015, the internet was given a very light regulatory touch, and that is what created the most dynamic communication platform known to man. Are you not a little bit concerned that these regulations are going to stifle that innovation?
Fair point. I mean, we've heard similar such concerns being raised by Ajit Pai, who's led the effort at the FCC, saying, look, broadband investment hasn't really taken off. But if you look at the SEC filings and the earnings calls that these companies have made to investors, investment as a result of these 2015 net neutrality rules hasn't really stifled investment on the broadband front. You've seen CEOs of Verizon, AT&T, and Comcast confirming the view that the 2015 net neutrality rules really didn't hamper investments in the way that it was anticipated earlier.
Government regulation cannot compete with a profit incentive. Without regulations, the companies could feel freer to come up with new offerings like faster tiers of service. That's going to benefit consumers all around. What do you say to that argument?
Great point, Michelle. But you know, if you look at big internet companies such as Netflix, Hulu, Amazons of the world, that have really come out with new content, new innovative, original content. These guys are big players in the market now. They have the deep pockets, they have the cash to strike deals with AT&T, Verizon for faster speeds. Well, what about the smaller guys? What about the startups that are out there? What about the next Netflix and the next Amazon? They don't have the deep pockets and the cash to pay for that faster access to the consumer. And I think that's where the real... Go ahead.
Well, streaming, that's a big part of why Walt Disney wanting to buy 21st Century Fox Entertainment assets. Is that the biggest reason for Disney here?
Definitely. If you look at net neutrality, if you look at Fox, Disney, and if you look at AT&T, Time Warner, they're all part of this big picture that we see today. It's all about grabbing the mind share. How can you grab the American mind share? One, you can create great content. You can create awesome content. Disney going for Fox creates the possibility of Wolverine teaming up with Spider-Man, to fight off the bad guys. Yeah, I mean, that possibility is awesome. You know, it's an exciting possibility that could capture the mind share. Similarly, you and I, as an average consumer, we're not loyal to a particular channel or a network, say a Fox or an NBC. What we like is new content. And with Disney controlling Fox's really edgier content as well one of your correspondents said earlier, whether it's X-Men, whether it's Wolverine characters, it creates a possibility of Disney dishing out these new services, these new library of content through its streaming services in 2019. That could really provide massive competition to the likes of Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon.
I'm going to agree with you that we're all very excited to see Spider-Man fight alongside the Fantastic Four, potentially. Shrey Verma, thank you so much. Merger analyst with Securities. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.